Hey, this is Jeff, and welcome back to Coito Ergo Sum, Less Talk, More Action, a series which, if you wonder why there seems to be a good bit of talking and not that much action, just watch the first 90 seconds of episode 2. Fire axes. Melee isn't really my thing. But fire helmets...
Oh, hello again. Do you need anything?
Yep, I got you something.
Thanks.
I recruited a ghoul cowboy prostitute for the Garretts, so Lollipops gets a ghoul firefighter prostitute. Oh, the fire helmet actually says Pahrump. It's not just a generic fire helmet.
You come back real soon now.
I'm actually in Pahrump to find clues about who killed Fresca Coy for the handler, but we've gotten a couple of side quests from the residents since we arrived, and I'm hungry again. So let's eat a few carrots and see if anybody else in town can tell us anything about the police station. Actually, as long as we're here, let's check out the fire station. I don't think there's anything related to the quests, but the unmarked quest to discover why two mole rats is trying to convince you that his people don't use technology when it's obvious from even a cursory investigation that they actually do has a few alternate ways to get the relevant clues. We already got the clue about the fire station from the burned house in the back lot, but I'm not sure if coming in here and talking to these people would be another way to get it.
Hi.
Hello. Yeah, that's one thing about Pahrump where I have mixed feelings. Usually in New Vegas, NPCs with names are relevant to the quest somehow.
Hello.
Hello. And everybody else
Howdy.
just has a generic title like Gambler or Freeside Thug, but everybody in Pahrump has a name, whether they have an important role or not, so you can spend a lot of time trying to talk to people who just say hello. Barrel cactus fruit. That's good for hunger and dehydration. Take that. One thing that definitely is a plot point is how nothing in the town is marked as owned. Coyote explained their economy last week, and now I feel compelled to leave something in trade whenever I pick something up. Steady. That's worth a lot more than cactus fruit. But is it worth more to me? My gun skill's 100, so I don't have any weapon sway with iron sights, and the spread on the Enfield is negligible, so at this point, yeah, that's not as important to me as food and water, whereas they could probably use it if they ever have to deal with raiders or predators or whatever.
Hello.
Hey. It is kind of interesting that...
Hi.
Hey. A lot of the unmarried women live together in the fire station, and a lot of the unmarried men live in a lodge south of the marketplace. Not sure if that means anything, or if it's just a little cultural flavor. Anyway, let's check out the saloon. And right away you can see this isn't a typical saloon. Most of the floor space is dedicated to distilling equipment, and the bar itself doesn't look like it gets a lot of business. So let's talk to the people who work here. Hello, stranger.
Hello.
Can I get a drink?
Help yourself. Oh, but if it's labeled ethanol, don't drink it. That's for the machines. A little bit might give you a buzz, but much more than that, and it'll kill you.
Goodbye.
You're welcome in the valley, stranger.
Lots of maize.
Yatta. Hey, good looking.
Interesting saloon. Distinctive decor.
This building had the floor space and ventilation we needed. We still offer hospitality 'cause the saloon's the first place most strangers visit. We don't get that many, sad to say.
Your people must really like firewater.
Firewater? Oh, I get it. That's your word for an ethanol solution, 'cause at 50% or higher, it burns. That's why I love talking to outsiders. Your language is so colorful and exotic.
This much moonshine could keep all of New Vegas drunk for a month.
Oh, we hold a little back half cooked for folks who like to drink it, but mostly we make pure ethanol, within a couple of nines.
Why do you need that much ethanol?
It's miracle fluid, disinfectant, solvent, motor fuel, and in small quantities some even say it's an aphrodisiac. Why don't you come to my place after work? I'll make us a cocktail. It's my own special recipe.
If I wanted to swing by your place later, where would I find it?
It's just west of the marketplace near the train wreck. You can't miss it.
I have some questions about the valley.
Ask away.
Can you tell me anything about the police station?
I don't think I've ever been inside it. Sometimes we use the range out back for target practice, and I love running the obstacle course. Maybe you could ring my bell sometime.
Have you ever been outside the valley?
Mm-hmm. I did a pilgrimage when I was younger. I love to climb, so I went east. I saw some people and old buildings, and one thing I will never forget. I topped a red hill, and I saw the skyline of Vegas. Even at that distance, it was so vibrant and alive. I wanted to keep walking until I reached it. And I was this close, but I decided if I was to ever leave the valley for good, I'd want to let my family and friends know where I was going. Now, for a quick day trip, I wouldn't mind reaching the peak of Mount U.
What do you know about the South End?
Not much. There's a dangerous canyon and some abandoned buildings. Coyote's been there. You should ask him.
Let's talk about something else.
Sure thing, sugar.
Goodbye.
I mostly work nights. If you ever want to come by the house for a drink, I get home around 9 a.m. and I'm usually there till about 6.
As you might suspect from Brett's frisky personality and fascination with life outside the valley, she's one of the people you can recruit as a prostitute for lollipops. But I'll have to take Geraldine back and get the finder's fee for recruiting her first. Brett just mentioned the obstacle course, and this is one of my favorite things in the mod. There's a bell at the halfway point, so the idea is you jump out and ring it as you head back down for the second half of the course. The timing's a little bit tricky, and most people might not even realize there's anything special about it, but with a little practice... That cracks me up every time. I run through it whenever I'm in this end of town, and it never gets old. I think there might be some ammo here on the benches on the shooting range. Nope, just spent casings. Anyway, I think we've talked to everybody who has anything useful to say about the police station, so let's get what we came here for. The RWI terminal requires a password, and the RWI locker is empty, so let's see what else is in here. There's a little armory I couldn't get into last time because my lockpick skill wasn't high enough, over here to the left of the holding cell. There's a reloading bench, an ammo box, but most importantly, in the gun cabinet, 12-gauge beanbag ammo, riot helmet, and in the locked side, a riot shotgun, all of which are fairly uncommon. The evidence locker is also worth unlocking, some good loot, including a silenced .22 pistol. And in the office at the very back, we have the holotapes we're looking for, a terminal, which we'll get the password for later in the quest, and some loot. Milsurp Review, another set of patterns for the Wardromatic. Unlock the desk to find the LAPD interview tapes, which we will listen to in a minute. But if you have Science 100, which I do, you can read this terminal early and unlock some additional accusation dialogue with the handler, and it'll save us a trip later if we already have the clue that we wouldn't otherwise be able to get until we have the password. We obviously want the Fresca Koi case. This terminal belonged to Detective Rios, who we know was working with Detective Midori from the Clark County office. First entry is from the district attorney. Rios said, "This smells political, my friend. The kid's smart but green as hell," presumably talking about Midori. "You know I'm not the type for sandbagging." DA replies, "I wouldn't even try to pull one over on you, Rios. It is political. Assigning a rookie investigator and an old coot in the next county over will look like I'm deep sixing it. But remember Bailey Craiglan, senator with the decency laws, tried to put half of Vegas out of work? That's who wants it squashed. Find something I can stick down the senator's craw sideways." Next one is from Midori. We saw the first half of this conversation on the Clark County terminal. Rios reprimanded Midori for being lazy and assuming that the original coroner's report was correct, that Fresca died of an accidental overdose. Midori writes back, "Sorry, Rios, you know that isn't what I meant. Figured I'd start with a girlfriend, but her alibi checks out. She was shooting a movie at the time of death, dozens of witnesses. This must have been easier when you could still query the telco database directly, but I'll get a warrant for the retroactive wiretap gizmo and hoof it over to the access point at the victim's hotel, see who she talked to," which is where the wiretap tapes we listened to in episode 2 came from. And we saw the first half of this one on Midori's terminal too. Rios was back with the recordings of the persons of interest he interviewed in LA. Midori says, "Thanks for the coffee and the pep talk. My money was on Lester, but if he's guilty, he's a better actor than anybody in his movies. I'll run down Peterman's Mystery Woman and let you know what I find." We'll listen to those tapes in a minute, and then these emails will make more sense. Next one is from the Iowa State Police. Rios asked, "How's the Midwest treating you, buddy? I need to call in a favor. Mrs. Frances Deloitte, deceased, Des Moines address. Might have been an alias for a mechanic. Can you check it out?" His buddy in Iowa replies, "Deloitte was a front all right. DMV, SSN, death certificate, everything checks out. But when I went to her house, there was no house. Nobody in the neighborhood ever heard of her. Ghost ID like that doesn't come cheap, so your mechanic must have been pretty worried to cancel it. And whoever hired her had real money. Are you sure you guys ran the mafia out of Vegas?" And the last one is from the Las Vegas PD. We have a match. Frances Deloitte registered at a hotel right across the tracks from the South Cistern in January. And that's the clue we'll need in the second phase of the quest, even though knowing the address of Deloitte's hotel doesn't get us much right now. Hearing it will save us a trip back here when we get to that point. So let's listen to those interviews.
Maurice Lester, I'd like to ask you a few questions about Fresca Koi.
Yeah? What about her?
Mr. Lester, what was your relationship with Miss Koi?
Didn't have one, really. She was in a few of my movies till she got too drunk to work. She cleaned up her act, got into directing, made a couple pretty good ones. But eventually she fucked that up, too. She hadn't worked in, 2 years? I'm surprised it took her this long to check out.
Well, her friends say she considered you her mentor.
A lot of people call me that. It sounds better than I rip off Mo's ideas.
That's interesting. Because people I talked to said your movies ripped off her ideas.
No, they said the lineup was inspired by Sphincterella. They forget Sphincterella was a rip-off of Personal Fouls.
I'm glad you brought that up. Your movies always make cops look stupid, Mo. You think cops are stupid?
Stupid? No. You're asking me how a washed-up, pill-popping, alcoholic porn queen died. I think you're fucking retarded.
Mr. Lester, we have evidence that Sasha Sikorsky was below the age of consent when she engaged in multiple sex acts on the set of one of your movies.
Hey, her birth certificate says she was legal. If some asshole clerk in Shitsky fucked it up, talk to Larry Slater. I just worked there. Anyway, you said this was about Fresca Koi. Are we done?
No, Mr. Lester, we're not done. The evidence came from Miss Coy. She was blackmailing you. That's a pretty solid motive for murder.
Well, for fuck's sake, she wasn't blackmailing me. She was trying to convince Sasha to do a movie. Ooh, the bad man exploited you. Come work for me. I'm so nice I'll even eat your little pussy between scenes. Well, Sasha said no. Goodbye comeback. Hello depression. Goodbye Fresca. The end.
All right, Mr. Lester. That's all for now. You have any plans to travel in the next few days?
I'm shooting in Vega Luna all week. I'll be there or here.
If your plans change, let me know.
Yeah, if I remember. Have a wonderful fucking day.
And here's that smart kid from the school.
Hi! Hello, mister! Welcome to the valley.
Are you always this friendly with strangers?
Well, if you came through the tunnel, then my dad met you at the top of the ladder. And if he let you into the valley, you must be okay. Besides, you're the first stranger I've ever met.
Your dad's the mayor?
Yep. He didn't want to be, but Mom made him run and everybody elected him because he's so smart.
Never a straight answer. He's a born politician.
You should tell him that. He says an election is just a lynching that lasts 4 years. If you told him he sounded like a politician, maybe he'd start giving me a straight answer once in a while.
So you're learning to fix a robot in school, huh?
Sort of.
Sort of.
We're really learning how to fix other stuff by studying the robot. It doesn't work, but it has a lot of parts that are like other machines. Miss Saffron says knowing how to fix something isn't as important as being able to figure out how to fix something.
Your dad made it sound like you don't use technology.
That's my dad. The way he talks sometimes, it's great for campfire stories. But if you really want to know something, it can drive you crazy.
So you do use technology.
Well, duh. If we had to pump water by hand, we wouldn't even have enough to drink, much less for the crops or fire drills.
Do you have any technology besides infrastructure?
You mean like cars and TVs and stuff people might want to steal? Nah, we don't need it. And who's gonna steal a windmill, right?
Can I ask you something about the valley?
Sure. What do you want to know?
Why doesn't anyone go into the south part of the valley?
Because it's dangerous. The canyon's really deep and poisonous too. And when big animals get into the valley, that's where they come from.
And evil spirits?
Yeah. I'm sure there are lots of those too.
You know about the tunnel. Have you ever been down there?
No, it's dark. I mean, I'm not afraid of the dark, but it's really old. Who knows when it'll crash down on your head? It's creepy.
Do you know anything about the police station?
Come on, I've told you all about the valley. You tell me something now.
Okay. What do you want to know about things outside the valley?
I don't know. What are the people like? What do they wear? What do they eat? What do they do for fun? That kind of stuff.
Selfish, clothes, food, and you're too young to know, respectively.
Yeah, helpful. I guess next time I should be more specific.
Don't you know anyone who's been outside the valley?
Of course I do. Everybody goes exploring at least once when they get old enough. I mean, they don't have to, but who wouldn't want to, right?
What did they say it was like?
Nope. That's cheating. I asked you first.
Are you going to go exploring when you get old enough?
Of course. I'm going to explore the Western Desert. That's where my dad went exploring when he wasn't too much older than me. He got lost and almost died. That's how we know how big it is.
Some of this dialogue assumes you buy into their stereotype, but I like to play it sarcastic. I thought Native Americans didn't get lost.
I couldn't tell you. I think we're Dutch. At least that's what Grandpap says.
Two Mole Rats is a funny name for a Dutchman.
Oh no! Please tell me Whitney isn't a funny name for a Dutch girl.
It's, the guy who invented a machine for making fabric out of cotton.
I knew it! Ugh! Why do they have to give us names out of those old books? Why can't they just give us normal names?
See you later, Whitney.
Bye, stranger!
It's always worth talking to her because I have 3 separate but tangentially related quests going on in Pahrump right now. Who killed Freskakoi, Sins of Our Ancestors, and the unmarked quest to figure out why Two Mole Rats is misleading us about his tribe's use of technology. So she mentioned windmills, and my intelligence and repair are high enough to get the best clue from it. The windmill is constructed of readily available materials, appears to be designed for reliability and easy maintenance, drives a sophisticated variable clutch assembly which can be used to generate electricity, pump water from the well beneath it, or both. The water pump has an automatic cutoff valve linked to a Geiger counter. The water's currently rad-free, which, like the burned house and Coyote's fusion generator, is a clue for the unmarked quest. But it's also a clue for Sins of Our Ancestors, which is the quest to figure out why they get intermittent radioactive contamination in their water supply every couple of years.
Hello, friend.
Hello. I think we have just about all of the clues for the unmarked quest, so let's get that out of the way right now. You only have to get 5 of the clues to confront Two Mole Rats, but the more of them you've seen, the more dialogue options he has. And I know there's one more in the clinic. There's an auto dock in here, and it just occurred to me that it's a lot more valuable in hardcore mode because it can heal crippled limbs. So that could be convenient. Mark III auto dock, primarily used for routine surgeries. The Mark III was prone to diagnostic scanner burnout, and this one appears to be no exception. The unit has been replaced with a multi-mode imaging array that appears to have been made by hand and hardwired into the control systems, which is both another indication that the people who live in the valley are technologically sophisticated and a nod to the auto docks in the vanilla game. It explains why you can't scrap this one to fix Caesars. And there's a chemistry set in the corner, which every few days you can use to make stim packs or other useful chems, so I might as well top up while I'm here. School's out, so let's talk to Saffron while she's right there in the backyard.
I'm pleased to meet you, stranger. We don't get many visitors from outside the valley.
Where did you get your holovid player?
From Two Mole Rats. When I was little, he loved to work on machines.
Robotics seems like a pretty advanced subject for school children.
I'm not really teaching robotics. I just use him to make math and physical science more fun.
Would you mind if I asked some questions about the valley?
Not at all. Go right ahead.
Is the schoolhouse safe with all the evil spirits in the South End?
I suppose Two Mole Rats told you that. He didn't mean little disembodied souls of the dead. It's just that the canyon has killed a lot of people over the years, and we see the occasional predator in that direction too. The children know not to go past the warning signs, and the noise from the marketplace keeps most animals from straying this far north.
Some of you have unusual names. Two Mole Rats, for example.
Oh yes, he's my brother. I'm actually Saffron Breeze. Our father's a bit eccentric.
There's something strange about this place that I can't quite put my finger on.
We've been isolated and self-sufficient since the Great War. I'm not surprised we turned out a little differently.
But your politicians would rather be farmers. You don't have any skimmers, gamblers, or hustlers.
No, we don't.
A terse answer to a question like that is never good. Let me guess, you eat them.
Yes, indirectly, of course. Our bodies feed the earth, and the earth feeds us. We all eat each other, in the end.
You mean you kill them?
We banish them. It amounts to the same thing, though. I doubt a man who'd rather steal than work can survive long out there.
You'd be surprised.
I suppose if they became raiders or tax collectors where those things are tolerated, we bear them no ill will.
Let's talk about something else.
All right. What did you have on your mind?
Have you ever heard of Lollipops magazine?
Of course. I've read just about every book and magazine in the valley. At its peak, circulation was over 20 million, so we have quite a few in the library. Not like tumblers today. Now that's a rare one.
You keep Lollipops magazine in the school library?
We keep all our books here. Most of them are checked out at any given time, but if you need one, you can either find it here or see who has it.
I'm not sure naked women and stories about sex are appropriate for kids.
Lying to children is bad for them, you know. Even if it's tempting to lie because the subject is ugly, like war, you still shouldn't do it. But people make babies the same way mole rats make babies. Why would you lie about that?
It sounds as if you like it.
It's funny. When I was little, I was always fighting the boys to check one out of the library. They liked the articles about airplanes and hunting, and advertisements for cars and gadgets. You know, boys' stuff. I liked the women. They were beautiful, and the interviews made their lives seem so glamorous. I was always dreaming about what life must have been like before the war.
I guess that changed when you grew up.
No, after we hit puberty, I still had to fight them for it. Except by then, I was interested in the gadgets, and they were interested in the women.
Enough about vintage magazines. Let's talk about current events.
All right, like what?
Here's something I bet you didn't know. I've resumed publishing Lollipops magazine.
You have a functional printing press? I would love to see that.
That could be arranged. Maybe while we're there you could pose.
Really? It sounds exciting, but I can't. 2 mole rats would kill me.
The valley's so isolated you don't have to worry about your neighbors seeing it.
It's not that. If I appeared in a famous magazine, I'd want to show all my friends.
Come on, you could be one of those beautiful, glamorous women you used to dream about.
I'd love to do it, but we go out of our way to avoid attention from outside the valley.
The interview doesn't need to mention your hometown.
Well, I can't miss class. How far is your studio?
It's between here and Mountain Springs. About 4 hours on foot.
I'll tell you what. Come back this weekend, and I'll do it.
Jeremy Peterman, I'd like to ask you a few questions about Fresca Coy.
Dude, that was so sad. She was like the greatest director of her generation. Maybe ever. Anyway, I don't know what I can tell you, but I'll try.
You were the last person to see her alive. Can you shed some light on her state of mind?
What? No, that's not right. I mean, we shot a holo the day before the awards, but that was like right after lunch, I think. Anyway, she seemed fine. Well, better than fine, really. We just shot a really hot video with this amateur chick, but it was more than that. She was like totally stoked to be getting back into biz, talking to people, getting ready to pitch a new movie, you know?
Was she sober?
Pretty much. Okay, probably not. With Fresca, it was kind of hard to tell. For a woman her size, she could really hold her liquor. And, you know, she liked her happy pills. I mean, ask anybody about that.
Mind if I take a look in your Boy Scout bag?
Huh? Oh, yeah, sure. Right there. Condoms, lube, gadgets, you know.
What's this thing?
That? Well, you adjust it to fit with the buckle, and you put the flexible part in your...
Never mind. So you were shooting a pornographic holovid, and Miss Coy was intoxicated?
I didn't exactly say it like that, but I guess, yeah. Anyway, I wasn't the last person to see her. The amateur we shot with supposedly had some new sex toy, and Fresca seemed really interested. They left together.
Do you have contact information for the amateur?
Sure, let me check my Pip-Boy. She used Claire Sin as her stage name, which was supposedly a play on her real name. Here it is, Amanda Sinclair. But that was fake too, and I had to get a real name for the background check. The boss bought some big database after that business with Sasha. It'd be easier for a commie to get in the Pentagon than somebody unhireable to get past this bad boy. Sex crimes, STDs, underage, you name it. Sorry, where was I? Right, her name. Frances Deloitte from Des Moines. Hey, that's not a bad porn name either. Deloitte, Delight, get it?
Thank you, Mr. Peterman. You've been very helpful. And, Mr. Peterman?
Yeah?
The First Amendment doesn't cover getting girls high and raping them just because you record it. In fact, we call that evidence. If I catch wind of you shooting in my jurisdiction, I'm going to pay a little visit to the set. With a warrant.
Oh, yeah, I mean, sure. It's all legit. My boss is a real stickler about legal stuff, you know? So I wouldn't do...
Save it. And don't say I didn't warn you.
I won't. I mean, thanks. Have a good one.
We're right under the collapsed railroad bridge. And by the way, that fall will kill just about any character unless you have a level limit remover and like 1,000 hit points or a parachute mod, that kind of thing. Desert stretches west as far as the eye can see, bleak, featureless, and empty. We can't go that way, so I'm going to call it a day. Next week, we can get Saffron to pose for the magazine, hire Brett as a prostitute, ask two mole rats why he didn't want us to know his people use technology, fix the town's water supply, and tell the handler we think we know who killed Fresca Coy. Quite a busy day today. Anyway, I'll see you then.